I definitely think addressable TV is viable. There's no doubt that we're not at as much scale as any marketer would like. Estimates range from about 40 to 50 million homes that are available to be truly addressed on a household level basis today, suggesting there'll be closer to 80 million by 2020. So certainly the more homes that we're in, the better. And yeah, it is also true that there are disparate systems, but it's a real business today, and certainly plenty of marketers are using addressable television and seeing it as a worthwhile investment. But I think it's also fair to say we're in the early innings, and so I think it's, to your question, it's a little of both. It's both viable and still can be challenging because you have to work across all the MVPDs. It's not one system. They're not all equal. So I guess the short answer is yes, and I think the good news is it's growing, but it's not as easy or as scaled as it yet could be, and I think the market would like it to be.
Now here at MediaLink, you guys advise a lot of brands, and I'm sure there are brands that are interested in this. So what are you telling them now, and what kinds of brands are right for addressable, and what kind of activations do you see as being successful?
So brands are definitely interested, and there's a variety of ways brands are thinking about this. One of the consistent points is the brands that are thinking about this are definitely thinking about it in terms of an ability to measure an uplift in ROI. And so what that means is there has to be some ability for them to measure back the value of that TV investment. And I don't necessarily mean a direct transaction, but they have a media mix model or some type of study that allows them to prove that the increase in CPM, because quite clearly there's an increased cost against the reach because it's the right audience, it's going to cost them more. So they got to prove that uplift and have to prove ROI. So all the marketers that we see testing it and seeing success have the ability to manage those metrics. If they don't have that connectivity, they're not really trying it because the CPM, it just doesn't make sense to them. It's just more expensive media otherwise. Otherwise, what categories are interested? Financial services has been big. We see auto being big. We see some actually CPG, and I think that's been a more surprise category for some, thinking, well, hey, what's the direct transaction there? But there's a really good opportunity to influence purchase intent and again measure that in a retail environment. And so I'd say the consistency is about ROI, categories as I mentioned, and it's for most people still a level of interest, not at a level of huge investments. It's at a test and learn stage. And part of what will come next, and one of the questions that we're asking a bunch, and there's no consistent answer yet, is where will addressable fall in the planning process? Will it be the first thing you do, right? Is it replacing some of your TV dollars? Is it actually pulling from pulling from digital dollars instead? Do you finish your TV plan with addressable? And there's no consistent answer. Like what we're finding is every marketer is still thinking about this a little differently as they're trying to find, again, that cost-benefit ratio. But what we do know is everyone is saying is, listen, precision marketing is the goal, right? The use of more technology, the use of more data to reach an ever more defined audience is clearly what marketers are up to. And the ability to do that in television is clearly also interesting. Right? But at the same time, so much of the TV dollar and the TV ecosystem is more about upper funnel metrics. It's not about a traditional ROI. And so we're seeing the rub between those kind of points coming together in marketers figuring out, how do I do this? And we don't see a consistent answer yet, but we see a lot of marketer interest.
So Matt, let me just ask you a broader question about TV distribution in the future. And you know, some people say addressable will grow to the box. Other people will say that most video will be delivered through IP-specific devices, and it's sort of like that might be the way that addressable, or that's the holy grail. Like, where do things go from here, do you think?
Yeah, I think that actually is the important question. I think that's a good place to talk about, because there's no doubt that the younger generations are certainly not signing up for cable subscriptions as the last generations have. I believe that over time they're likely to, but at the same time I think that definition of my access point to video content is changing. I do think we'll see more and more of that content consumption is going to happen in digital environments, either through access points that are subscription-based or more, traditional, just over-the-top access points of content. So yeah, that has a huge impact on what are we talking about when we talk about addressable television. Are we actually having an addressable video conversation, which in the digital world is totally possible because of the technology that already exists? Or are we actually talking about truly addressable TV in a linear set-top box-driven world? I think for a long time, both access points are going to be very meaningful. Despite all of the shift to digital video distribution points, there's plenty of viewing that's happening via the set-top box. And the ability to get to a dynamic ad insertion at a household delivered basis in linear television, I think is still very meaningful for a long time. I don't think we're going to see that tipping point anytime in the near future. Yet, at the same time, for certain audiences that are not consuming content via set-top box, yeah, it's kind of a moot point, right? I can do one-to-one or really granular defined segments already in a digital environment, and certainly the content that we think of as TV content is slowly but surely, or even not that slowly, living in those digital places as well. And so yeah, I think the world combines. I don't think we will be talking about in the mid-future a difference between TV and video. We'll be talking about a video ecosystem at the level of that premium content of what we think lives on air, which is why we often talk about it as the business of TV, that starts to think about it less as something that runs in a set-top box in this big screen on the wall, and more of content's going to be, video content will be distributed across platforms. Marketers would like to have a consistent view and a consistent planning mechanism to reach the people that watch that video across screens. And as you do that, I think, again, addressable TV will be a part of that ecosystem, but I certainly wouldn't look at it as linear specific is actually the focus. It's more about how do I make that distribution point smarter.